A pleasant day to all of you. Please allow us to explain the site selection. Site selection. Location is a crucial factor in a person's choice of where to live, work, and build his or her business. The location of a business is significant in the success of its operation and determines the overall growth of the trade. The choice of the site provides the necessary platform to launch the brand of the facility or to validate and sustain their existing trademark. The consideration in setting up the facilities for the hospitality industry and tourism industry involves a several process and consideration. In this topic, we will know the importance of considering the site location in building a business and how it affects. So we have the objective at the end of this chapter. We will be able to discuss the importance of location in the hospitality and tourism industry. And we will also enumerate the different criteria for site selection of hospitality and tourism facilities. So the content is the location theory is a driving factor in the economic growth. In 1826, Johann Heinrich von Thunen, a landowner in Prussia, modern Germany, introduced the theory of agricultural location. His model suggested that a single market surrounded by a farmland create a maximum profit in relation to its location, rent, and transportation costs. His theory is that the lower the cost, the transport the goods, the higher the rent of the facilities, and vice versa. Albert Weber in 1909 introduced the location triangle. His work is considered for the foundation for the modern location theory. He enumerated the three main factors that influence the industrial location. These are the transport, transport costs, labor costs, and agglomeration economics. Agglomeration explain the advantages of the clustering industries, urban growth, and the local economy. In 1964, economist William Alonso explained how different types of land used for the housing, commercial, industrial, and institutional facilities are influenced by their accessibility requirement. In his theory, wealthy households choose to live in the fringe of the cities because their needs to be at the center is not as apparent as for the poor households' requirement to be near the city centers for their jobs and access to the goods and services. So these theories provide the foundation in determining the location of a business to maximize and optimize the return of investment at the shortest possible time and provide a sustainable growth. And based on these theories, industrial have set their criteria in determining the appropriate site, notwithstanding the laws on land, restriction on development, and resolution of cities and municipalities. All of those theories of those three persons have only one goal. It is to make sure that their location is in a good environment that is accessible to all and can be a way to have a growth on a short period of time as soon as possible. So we have here the general criteria for site selection. So number one is the location of the facility. It is one of the top criteria of the travelers when choosing their accommodation, whether for business or recreation. These refer to a larger sphere of influence of the facilities. The content can be a district, city or municipality, region, or even bigger depending on the impact of the facility. When choosing a location, the concept of the facility dictates the specific criteria for the location. It is important to check the demand generation. Demand generation is a process or program that creates a relationship between the facilities and the clients and hopefully develops a long-term engagement. Demand generator for hospitality and tourism industry include the business areas, industrial parks, tourist attraction, and institutional facilities such as the schools, government centers, and hospital. A business hotel sets criteria for a location based on the proximity to transport hubs and the central business districts. So in the site selection, from word itself, it is choosing a location that can satisfy the travelers. In choosing a location, we must consider if it fits on the business or in the concept that we will do. Number two is the site. The site of the project refers to both contextual and the physical manifestation of the area. The context of the area refers to the environment of the location. This includes the zoning of the area, the characteristic of the landscape, the quality of the open spaces, and the built environment. So, in this site, there are also a list of following concerns. Number one is the access to the transportation. This pertains to the services of the movement of the goods, services, and people. Access to the transportation allows to ease of mobility for a greater majority. The provision of the public transportation is a criterion that should be considered in selecting a site for a facility. In determining a accessibility, the amount of the time spent from the origin to the destination and the number of the transfer from a transportation hub to another must be reviewed. It is very important to have a easy access to transportation if you will be having a business. It can help you to have a fast way to deliver or to import and export your goods and services, as well as the travelers to go on your location easily. Number two is the access to utilities. The provision of the public utilities such as the portable water, electricity, telephone, and internet service is a determinant in identifying the suitable site for facilities. However, there can be an exemption if the concept of the facility is to focus on the off-grid source of the energy. The facility can use alternative sources such as the solar panels, wind turbines, hydroelectric, and similar alternative source of energy. Nowadays, people can live without technologies, so it is important that we have an access to the utilities because people used to live with it, and we can attract them if your facilities doesn't have this. But as I said, it is depend on the concept. They may offer a alternative or other way to fulfill their needs. The next is the land area. The size of the lots is dictated by the kind of facilities and the concept of the project. In some cases, the owner would consider module development and the expansion of the facilities. This can be determined with the help of the professional of the built environment and the strict stakeholders. The size of the land is needed to be fit on the concept of the project that you will build in. It can cause a conflict if your design and the land area doesn't have the same size. Next is building. In cases when a facilities of the hospitality and tourism industry would choose a location inside a complex or a building, they must consider the concept of the development. There are the specific architectural designs and images of a facilities that a certain group of people would gravitate to and patronize. The young will be more inclined to go to bars with the music and freestyle dancing, while more mature groups are predisposed to structure the ballroom dancing. In building it is depend to the concept that your project have chosen. They may consider different ages so that they can accommodate them all. Next is the cost of construction or the renovation. The decision of whether to build a new structure or renovate an existing space of building become a very difficult when there are no variables to compare with. It is important to lay down the pros and cons of the building and renovation. You must be aware of the possible future of your project. Build in or renovate a project is costly depend on your design. There are some of the issues to consider, and here are the following. The extent of renovation in order to achieve the concept of the facility. There might be a need to upgrade and update the utility system such as the water lines, sewage, electrical system, and internet connection to address the building code issues and adhere to the concept. So in built in a project, it is just It is not just you will create or perform your project, then everything is fine. No, there are a lot of things that you need to do after that. Like I said, the electrical system that you need to run for your business, water lines, and etc. Next is the cost of the long-term and the short-term construction. So renovating a structure while in operation would take a longer time than constructing in a vacant spaces. The time would also add up to the cost and the possible revenue if the facility is in full operation. So it is very important to look for a wise person that can make your project in a short period of time but can assure you that it is well established and far away from any possible malfunction. So next one is the structural integrity. It is the building will play a big part in the construction cost if there is retrofitting to be done in order to carry additional load. If the building holds the historical value to the community, changing it use a appearance might have an impact of the facility acceptance in the community. So um, you must ensure that either a structure or a structural component is fit for the purpose under normal operation condition and is safe even when condition exceed to the original design. Next one is the new construction building from scratch might cost more, but it is more efficient in terms of layout because it is designed for its purpose. The cost of the maintenance can be lower because of the use of the system and materials. The possibilities of design are endless in creating the brand for the structure. It is much better to have a new construction that is inclined or connected on your concept. It can cause any harm if you will use an old building that are not designed on your purpose. So there are also the legal issues and restriction. It is important to know the legal restriction of the site being considered. Zoning of the site will determine whether the area is appropriate for the proposed facilities. In a planned unit development such as the Bonifacio Global City, Asiana, and Rockwell, to name a few, there is specific design and deeds of restriction that designers need to follow before even applying for a permit from the city or municipality. As a rule, to comprehensive land use plan or CLUP of the city of the municipality dictates development to monitor the rational use of the land to ensure the sustainable growth and development. We are not advisable to build a project without the any consent of the authority. We must know the rules and regulation as well as the law regarding on the making a construction and for buying a certain site or location. The city or municipality should identify the land use zone in accordance with the CLUP. For proper identification, the specific area are marked as R for the residential district and C for the commercial district and I for the industrial district. Zoning ordinance regulates the land use and building height restrictions.
In identifying the location of a hospitality or tourism establishment, it is imperative to determine the category of the site being considered. Land use plan, as used in CLAP, is classified into the following categories. R1 refers to low-intensity residential zone which is characterized mainly by single-family, single-detached dwellings or row and duplexed houses. R2 refers to medium-intensity residential zone which is characterized mainly by medium-density housing such as low and medium-rise, multi-household, family dwellings on a limited scale. R3 refers to high-intensity residential zone which is characterized by mixed housing types and high-density housing similar to high-rise dwelling structures. C1 refers to low-intensity commercial zone which is allow all permitted uses under the R1 and R2 and R3 classifications. C2 refers to a medium-intensity commercial zone which is characterized by commercial development and can be mixture of retail and wholesale trade which may also contain the service and entertainment industries such as restaurants, stores, and other commercial centers. C3 refers to a heavy intensity commercial zone which is characterized by heavy commercial developments that deal with trade, service, and entertainment on the larger scale of operations such as metropolis or those regional in nature. 11 refers to light industrial zone which covers industries that are classified as non-pollutive but may or may not be as hazardous. 12 refers to medium industrial zone which covers industries that are classified as sources of pollutants but may or may not be as hazardous. 13 refers to heavy industrial zone which covers industries classified as high in pollutants and possible sources of hazardous emissions. Special districts. A1 refers to agro-industrial districts, which is an area for industrial uses that are derived from agricultural produce. GC refers to government center, which is an area devoted to national, regional, and local government offices, institutions, and edifices. AGR refers to agricultural district, which is an area with prime agricultural lands where activities are restricted to agriculture and auxiliary structures such as dyeing and mining areas. C refers to cultural districts, which is reserved for cultural institutions like galleries, museums, heritage buildings, and cultural and civic centers. PUD refers to a planned unit development which point to land development projects that allow planned land use mix designs that enhance the environment rather than result in its deterioration. These are usually brownfields. AC refers to airport zone, which is a self-contained unit specifically devoted to airport terminals, hangars, control towers, and other related facilities. Hotels with casinos or any establishment that caters to the gambling and selling of alcohol, cigarettes, or tobacco should be 200 meters away from school or churches. However, cities and municipalities can and may pass stricter ordinance. A significant source of information for all stakeholders of the hospitality and tourism industry and professionals of the built environment are the data in the Center for Environmental Geomatics Manila Observatory, which provides resources that focus on identifying areas in the country that are classified as risk and high vulnerable to environmental disasters. As stated in the lecture, hotels and casinos should be placed 200 meters away from schools and churches as it considered the safety of people since it sells cigarettes and alcohols. This is to follow the strict rules of ordinance. Also, it is needed to identify the area and the risk of having environmental disasters. Creating a brand through site selection. The brand of the business affects the determination of the location. The location of the facility is not limited to clients, patrons, and guests gravitating to the establishments. It should also consider the resources such as supply of goods and manpower. The brand works hand in hand with the vibe and reputation of the location and the ambience of its architecture to promote an overall experience. So it means that we need to choose the brand that is well known because it can help us to attract customers. The design of the architecture also helps to satisfy the expectation of the customers. A facility can be stand alone in its own site or a building or part of a development complex in determination of a possible location of an establishment. There is a collaboration with a multidisciplinary team. The establishments may also adapt to the environment without compromising its brand and concept. On this one, it says that our business can build in any site as long as OT will benefit your business. And with the help of others, they can contribute to you for the growth of your business so can build your establishment even though you don't have brand and site. The design of each coffee shop took into consideration the architecture of location. On the left side is a branch in Japan, while on the right side is a branch stab, in suburbs, just like here in Lukban, Quezon. The establishments of the business are preserved the way it's because it signifies the culture.
Site criteria by major sectors of the hospitality and tourism industry. Accommodation and lodging. It encompasses a wide range of services and activities which can include food service, business centers, shopping areas, convention centers, and recreation. There are general criteria in identifying a site for a specific type of accommodation. Letter A. Hotels. Generally, hotels are classified in terms of size, clientele base, and target markets, level of service and ownership, and affiliations. Hotels are usually found in high-density cities that are near airports, inland countries with an established train system that crosses borders also host major business hotels. Examples: 5-star Dusit Hotel in Davao, Beverly Boutique Business Hotel in Cebu City. Letter B is resort hotel. The primary clientele for this type of accommodation are vacationers. These hotels are more often than not located near natural resources and sceneries such as beaches, lakes, and mountain ranges. And in temperate countries, most resort hotels are operated on a seasonal basis, especially those whose services evolve based on the season. However, there are also resort hotels that cross the line of mixing rest and relaxation with business by incorporating facilities such as convention centers. Example: Pearl Farm in Davao, Henna Resort Hotel with Convention Center. Letter C. Bed and breakfast. Bed and breakfast accommodations are normally interest. Guest house, inns, and farmhouses may also be classified under this category. They are relatively small and sometimes share the facilities with the owner who lives in the same building or area. Letter D is condotel. This type of accommodation is intertwined with condominiums that allow guests to prepare their own meals with housekeeping services, for linens, and room cleaning. The site is usually near business districts and commercial establishments. Example: Manila Condotel at Shell Residence. Food and beverage. The food and beverage component of the hospitality industry accounts for the biggest segment in this line of business. The three general classifications are the fast food concessionaires, high-end restaurants and bars, and catering establishments. Letter A. Fast food concessionaires are mostly located in high-density areas such as inside malls, near offices, schools, and zones with heavy foot and vehicular traffic. Example, fast food restaurant in a mall converges Makati's stand-alone fast food chain. Letter B. High-end restaurants can be seen in 5-star hotels as part of their amenities. Stand-alone restaurants would focus on finding a location that would complement and supplement the brand and concept of the establishment. Example, Blackbird Makati, Nielsen Tower, Cornice Restaurant, and Diamond Hotel. Letter C. In determining the location of the commissionary of the catering service, the proximity of the possible clientele must be established. There are maximum distances that a caterer can provide delivery for their services. Although there are refrigerated vans, the quality of food is still a major consideration. The proximity of commissionary of caterers that provide food for airlines and cruise ships is a primary concern. Example, airline catering. Travel and tourism offices. Travel agencies are normally located in airports, seaports, and malls with heavy tourist visitors. There are also instances that they are attached to the hotels and tourist destinations. Example, New Travel Saloon in Makati, travel agency inside the airport. Entertainment and recreation. In identifying the site for entertainment and recreation, it is important to identify the kind of operation. This is a significant issue in determining the size of the lot. Regarding the demographics of the area, questions such as, are there possible users within a 5-kilometer radius, or will it cater to the local and foreign visitors and tourists, should be asked. High foot traffic for potential clients can also be a factor in the site selection. Likert scale for site selection. Francis Likert, a social psychologist, proposed the use of points to develop a rating scale. The Likert scale is used to measure conditions to aid in decision-making by identifying criteria and assigning a rate. Likert scale for site selection for a resort hotel. Project brief. A chain of European resort hotel owners is planning on expanding to Southeast Asia. The majority of their resorts have rooms ranging from a 200 to 500 bed occupancy. Their brand promotes luxury while consuming with nature. The following criteria were set for the initial assessment of 3 different sites in the Philippines. More true site criteria were done by a team of multidisciplinary professionals composed of architects, engineers, landscape architects, professionals from the hospitality and tourism industry, market and brand specialists, and others as needed and prescribed by the owners. Scoring is from 1 to 5, with 5 as the highest possible score. In this table, it contains criteria, Site A, Site B, Site C, and remarks. In land criteria, Site A scores 3, Site B scores 5, and Site C scores 4. Remarks: 100% above the similar facilities can accommodate the projected expansion of the project. In availability of transportation facilities, Site A scores 3, Site B scores 3, and Site C also scores 3. In accessibility to utility and service, Site A scores 2, Site B scores 4, and Site C scores 3. In vulnerabilities to natural hazards, Site A scores 4, Site B scores 5, and Site C scores 3. Land use and zoning, Site A scores 5, Site B scores 4, and Site C scores 4. In accessibility to support facilities, Site A scores 3, Site B scores 3, and Site C scores 5. Total of Site A for 20, Site B 23, and Site C 22. Based on the Likert scale, Site B has the highest rating.